Ladies and gentlemen, in this very special Friday edition of the American Reveille Podcast, the 44th episode, we are going to reveal the Kraken. Once again, this is the third installment, and on this installment, I'm going to use my strategic wherewithal to explain to you in detail why I believe that we can confirm the raid on the server farm in Germany. Not only can we confirm that, but I believe I can predict the next 5 to 10 chess moves, ladies and gentlemen. I think I know what's going to happen at the end of this movie. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing today? James Lane here. This is the 44th episode of the American Reveille Podcast, and I am putting on my grand strategist hat today because this grand strategist believes he knows exactly what's about to happen. Not just like the immediate what's about to happen. I mean, what's going to happen when Trump secures re-election. You heard me right. I'm going to put it together. It's going to sound very, very out of this world, but the pieces at the end, when they come together, it makes sense. It's logical. And I believe it's the only conclusion to avoid a civil war. This is much more serious than people really take it for, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this is some next level stuff we're dealing with, some historic stuff. And throughout history, I want you to remember that while history was taking place, there's always people, tons of people that were naysayers, that were doubters, that were deniers, that went against all of this crap. So I want you to know that it's normal that there's a whole bunch of people here that think that we're absolutely out of our minds, because they live in their la-la land, their bubble. Those are people that will never understand what it is to struggle or what it is to be hungry. Those are people that will never understand how to relate to other people. You don't have to struggle to know people and to understand what it is to be empathetic or to work with people or to be part of a team or a community. But if you've never had the experience to build upon that, to learn that, or you weren't raised with that, you're not going to have it. And there are a lot of people that don't. So don't be discouraged and don't be dismayed by these people unintentionally and inadvertently being controlled, whether it be by the news, the mainstream media, whether it be by the left. It's all coming from communist China anyway. It's Chinese propaganda. But basically, these people are being mind controlled. I said in an article a while ago that we have a whole generation of Manchurian candidates. I mean, we have a whole political party of Manchurian candidates on the left, to tell you the truth, because the ones that really don't do the research are just blindly following. And unfortunately, those people are going to just keep pushing against us. They said in the movie The Matrix that there are some people, they don't unplug people after a certain age. You remember that in The Matrix? They said, we're sorry we put you through this, Neo, but we believe you're the one. So we had to. They said that to him. And they said, we don't put people through this. We don't wake people up until they reach a certain age, or, after a certain age, because their minds, their bodies, they're so dependent on the system, on the Matrix, that they're willing to fight and even die to protect it, even though it's corrupt, even though it's crooked, even though it's fake, even though it's not the real world. Just like what's happening now, they will fight to the end to protect it. They're never going to side with us. They're not going to understand. The reality is going to either have to hit them naturally, just like a drug addict. If you've ever known somebody struggling with addiction, you can't help them until they finally decide that they want to help themselves. You can't help them. So try to focus on taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, your community, the people around you that love you and care about you, and the people around you that need you. And stop worrying about how crazy they're being, because that's going to be handled, and we're going to explain it in this episode. A lot of developments coming, and to those folks again that like the videos and stuff that are straight to the point, you're not going to get that in this. This is a podcast, so I get to do this as my show, and if it's my show, then I'm going to go whatever tangent direction that I would like. And so I will stay on point, but you're going to hear a little side stuff here and there. And a lot of you like it, and I'm very, very thankful to have you. And for the other people that don't like it, there are other videos on the channel that you could watch. Besides that, we have a lot of really big changes coming, not changes to our style or changes to anything like that, but possibly updates to the website and other things like that. We've got some stuff in the works, let's just say. So I look forward to seeing where that is going. And to all the people that have been donating and helping us grow, I really appreciate that as well. You can always go to www.americanreveille.com and donate. There's a donate tab. It really, really helps us expand this operation and upgrade the equipment and get the research done that we need. This is not a show that's sponsored by a big company. It's not a show, and no disrespect meant to the big folks out there, the Ben Shapiros and the Dan Bonginos and the other folks out there, but they have large sponsorships. Or there are other podcasts, the majority of podcasts, that are owned by large companies and funded by large companies. I fund this off of my day job's paycheck and what little donations that we get, and they're all appreciated. Eventually, we're going to make some money with this, but it's not going to be the way you think. It won't be off of your backs. I've designed this company in a way where we can eventually profit without cutting into your pocketbook. So we'll talk more about that another time. What else is coming? We have some more articles coming up. I know that we have some more of the series that Jessica Lee just started coming pretty soon, and I know that's been hitting pretty good, and I'm excited about that. And I'm really actually excited about this podcast. And I promise you, if you watch my last video, there won't be any singing in this podcast, so don't worry. Don't shut this off. There's no singing. I'm not going to open my mouth. We're just going to talk about the master plan, what's actually happening. The best way I can describe it before I really get into the data, think about a nuclear reaction. Now, for those who don't know about how a nuclear bomb detonates, there's a special chemical reaction that has to be triggered and has to take place. And the atom has to split. There's a whole thing that has to happen to make that happen. Or you could just drop a nuclear bomb and it's just going to hit the floor. Nothing's going to happen. Okay? It's the chain reaction. It's the splitting of the atom. It's the combination or the tearing apart of something that makes something else happen, some unexpected reaction take place, ladies and gentlemen. So for this plan to work, for Trump to do what he's doing right now, which I believe is draining the swamp, I believe it's coming. I believe this is the prelude. For him to do what he has to do right now, so many different pieces, so many different parts of the chain reaction have to line up perfectly in order for the chain reaction to take place, for the dominoes to fall, ladies and gentlemen. It's kind of like mixing baking powder and vinegar. If you mix baking powder and vinegar, you're going to have an explosion. They used to do that from like volcanoes, the little volcanoes you'd make as a kid, or maybe you've done it with your own child. You make like a little volcano and fill it with baking powder and you put vinegar in it and it erupts. It's a safe eruption. Well, we're not looking for an eruption. We are looking for a chemical reaction, though, a chain reaction. And to make a chain reaction happen, like I said, you need to have the right ingredients and you need to have them entered into the pot at the right time. I could have probably used a cooking analogy better, but you're going to have to bear with me. I'm a man of 1,000 analogies, though my analogies don't always make realistic sense. They do make common sense, ladies and gentlemen. So bear with me. We're going to get through this, but I'm going to talk to you in this episode today about what happened in Germany. We're going to get an overview from the Gateway Pundit of what's going on and stuff that General McInerney said, stuff that General Flynn said, some of the coincidences. But I'm going to then break this article down with some other articles, some stuff that's happened in the last couple weeks, things that make me believe the conclusion that I'm going to tell you in the end. And you're going to have to get to the end of this because I'm going to really bring all of this together and tell you what I'm what I really think is going to happen after Trump's reelection. And this is something nobody is talking about. Nobody has the balls to say. They probably risk their career. But I'm a small guy here, small time guy. We get thousands of listens a month, and I'm appreciative of that. And that's small compared to these guys getting hundreds of thousands, millions a month. But I'm okay. I'm here for you. I want you to have this knowledge. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But between you and me, guys, I'm not wrong very much. I hate to say it. I know that sounds kind of arrogant or even douchey to some people, but I mean, it's the truth. I'm not wrong very much. So I've put the 4D chess together in the drawing board. I've moved the pieces around in front of my face, and this is the conclusion I come through. So we're going to mull through this, folks, and I'm really excited to get this out, and I want to know what you think at the end of this in the comment section of below or on Parler. Message me, put a post out. I'm curious. I'd really love to know if you support my belief, because I've put a lot of work, a lot of thought, and a lot of study into ensuring that this is accurate. All right, so let's go. Yesterday about what's going on with the servers. They've put it together a little bit and kind of made a brief overview that I thought was really good for opening this. So let's start getting into it. This is Jim Hoft, all right? What's going on with the server reportedly obtained in Germany related to the 2020 election? Okay. There are plenty of rumors concerning the server obtained in Germany after the election. Here's what we know. On the Monday following the election, President Trump fired Defense Secretary Mark Esper, and we know about that. We know that's a fact. They replaced him with Christopher Miller. He serves as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. All right? He held his own press conference in June to announce that he would not follow President Trump's orders. That was Mark Esper. He wouldn't follow Trump's orders and protect the White House from Antifa and Black Lives Matter rioters who were burning down D.C. He doesn't feel like we should use troops on our people. And I don't feel like we should use troops on our people. Let me make that clear. We should not use troops on our people, but we have to take into consideration the gravity of something. I want you to remember really quick before we go forward. First off, we started hearing about these servers 2 weeks ago. All right. This is clue number one. This is a rumor that hasn't gone away. And it's a rumor that isn't being perpetuated on 4chan. It's a rumor that's being talked about by high-level military personnel, by credible individuals. The only reason they don't seem credible is because the news, the mainstream media spends so much money and effort trying to bury them and make them look like they're insane. That's why people think Rudy Giuliani is loopy. He's not loopy. He's sharp as a tack. He's a genius. Took down the damn mafia. In fact, I did a post earlier today where I said, who the hell wants to see him be the mayor again in New York after he helps drain the swamp? I do. I know you do. I would love to see Giuliani go, and hell, let him be the governor. Let's clean up New York once and for all. But right now, he has to drain the swamp. And I'm going to keep going here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. Esper held his own conference in June to announce that he would not follow President Trump's orders and protect the White House from Antifa and Black Lives Matter. I know I read that already, but it's important for you to understand why this piece, this pawn on the chessboard, was shifted, was changed, was moved to another location. There has to be a reason why you would need somebody to do that, somebody who wouldn't be opposed to that. Let's keep going, folks. See, right here, there was Mark Esper. Without consulting Trump White House, Defense Secretary Esper orders National Guard not to carry guns or ammunition in Washington, D.C. He's very, very opposed to stopping something swiftly. Then, in one of his first moves on November 18th, acting Defense Secretary made military special ops report directly to him, along with the secretaries of the Army, the secretaries of the Navy, and the Secretary of the Air Force. Folks, pawns on the chessboard. The acting defense secretary, okay? That's, what's his name right here? Christopher Miller, all right? Christopher Miller. And don't worry, just like I explained who General McInerney was, I'm going to mess his name up a bunch of times, I apologize. But just like he was explained on one of my previous episodes, I'm going to explain exactly who in the hell Christopher Miller is. And it's going to make a lot of sense at the end here. This is really crazy stuff that's happening, folks, but it's very important that you understand, all right? So he has Spec Ops reporting to him, folks. Remember, he said that he was going to have Spec Ops be in this new world. I'm misquoting him. I know it's going to be very butchered, but he said something, if I remember the speech a couple weeks back, he said that in this evolving landscape in the world we're in today, special forces needs to take a different type of role. This was before we heard anything about the servers. Don't you remember the speech he made? He made it, I believe, at the White House, and he said special forces needs to take a different role, a more active role. They're going to become a much newer, much different, much more integrated fighting force for new types of warfare that are developing. Folks, again, it's a butchering of what he said, but the gist of what he said was that special forces are going to be probably doing things internal to the country as well. That's what I got out of it. Internal and external operations, folks. All right. He's got them all reporting to him. Why wouldn't they report to him? I'm going to tie that together. But, you know, if the left was trying to perform an actual coup, because I've said this before and I'll say it again. What if, I've made this in a post, I want you to think about this question. What happens if we do win, which I know we're going to? This is all part of this strategy unfolding, but let's just talk in hypotheticals. What happens if we win? And social media, Twitter, everybody, the people that aren't compliant, the people censoring us, what if they just refer to Biden as the president? Okay. What if they refer to him as the president? What if the whole Democratic side refers to him as the president? What if he refuses to concede? What if he claims that he's the real president? Remember, the news has been saying that Trump was going to attempt a coup. Remember this. This started happening when we're putting in Amy Coney Barrett, ladies and gentlemen. They started talking about Amy Coney Barrett being an illegitimate SCOTUS. All right. A SCOTUS justice, a Supreme Court justice. They talked about Trump illegitimately, illegally appointing her, which he didn't. It was totally constitutional. They call the narrative all the time. They always project what they think is going to happen or what they're planning on doing in a way. So they said she would be illegal. They said that Trump was going to try to attempt a coup and Amy Coney Barrett would break the tie or she would make the votes and he would become the illegal president. They talked about this, folks. They talked about it on CNN. They talked about it on MSDNC. They talked about it on all the networks a bunch of times. And I have a feeling this week or next week, we're going to start hearing that again. Keep your ears open for the word coup. If you hear anything from the left, keep your ears open because, I mean, I really have faith in my ability to understand strategy, understand human nature, understand the thinking of people. I had street smarts for many years before I ever went to college and earned all of these degrees and stuff. I promise you. I'm not a college-educated snob. I'm a college-educated School of Hard Knocks graduate. So I believe that combination, especially with a lot of my experience being to around the world, different countries, experiencing different things, my consumption of knowledge, my understanding of people's thought process. I mean, I can go on, but I really believe that these are where the cards are going to fall. So keep your ears open for the word coup, because that is the Democrats signaling. That's them calling the narrative. So they said all of this to him. They said he was going to call a coup. He was going to do this. So what if, just like I said, what if they refuse to recognize him as the president, even if he's sworn in? Couldn't they attempt to call upon members of the military or members in government supportive to them to act in a certain way to try to depose President Trump? They could do all kinds of things. These are unprecedented, historic times. We have to really be thinking outside of the box and wondering what is possible to be prepared. All right. They could call something like that. And if the Secretary of the Army, Navy, and Air Force aren't under central command, which would be loyal to Trump, Who knows what they could order? And if they're disobeying orders, they could be tried for treason if something were to happen. And I think something is going to happen. But we're going to get into that. I just wanted to explain that point to you. All right. There's a reason why people centralize control. All right. There's a reason why leadership does certain things. All right. Not only have I been in many leadership positions, but my MBA is in leadership. That's literally my degree. A Master of Business Administration in Leadership, ladies and gentlemen. So for that, you really have to study the brain of individuals and the relationship that followers and leaders have with each other and all kinds of stuff like that. And when you look at that, plus chain of command, I understand chain of command. I was in the military, and you put two and two together. There's a reason why you consolidate forces. There's a reason why you make the special forces operators come into a new role and give them jurisdiction so that what they're doing is legal. I wonder what they've been doing, ladies and gentlemen. At about the same time, we're reading again for those listening. At about the same time, on November 16th, we heard from Rep. Louis Gohmert that people on the ground in Germany report that SUPERCEDES, which hosted elections data improperly through Spain, was raided by a large U.S. Army force and their servers were seized in Frankfurt. Remember, we heard about this. This is coming from an elected representative. This is coming from a congressman. Folks, this isn't coming from crazy people. This is coming from people in government. I mean, really. So I know it's people try to dismiss it as a rumor. But again, these are the things that are going to lead to my explanation, to me pretty much proving to you that this actually happened. So this is going to be a long-winded one. Like I said, I hope you have your lemonade, guys, or maybe your lemonade and a little bit of vodka. We'll see. Keep on listening, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to come from their source, all right? So I'm going to read this. Once they determined that this Dominion server was involved in switching votes, and remember, by the way, you saw the news stories today, right? And yesterday about them in Georgia. I believe it was from today. In Georgia, they have a Dominion voting machine, all right? And they've proven, I posted it, all right? It was out. They've proven on that one machine that votes were switched, all right? They were switched from Trump to Biden, okay? So this is not fake right there when they're saying this. And this came out, I believe, right before that article came out. So guys, understand, votes are being switched. This is going to lead to a much larger audit. Listen, things are falling apart, guys, on the left. Arizona, Nevada, they're calling for forensic audits now. Everybody is. Brian Kemp, the rhino, Brian Kemp, switched his position today, and now he's grilling the Secretary of State. He's scared. Now he's calling for a signature audit. He's calling for the machines to be audited. Folks, this is all coming to a head. These are parts of the chemical reaction we were talking about, getting in the right place at the right time. So let's get back to this, all right? This was involved in switching votes. The intelligence community began a search for the server and discovered that the server was in Germany. In order to get access to that server and have it available for use in a legal manner, they had to have the State Department work in tandem with the Department of Justice. They had to request that the government of Germany cooperate in allowing the seizure of power, or seizure of this server, excuse me, not the seizure. You end up using the word seizure of power so many times in a sentence that it sounds natural. Isn't that terrible? Allowing the seizure of the server, guys. They seized the server. They needed Germany's permission to do it. The appropriate documents required to effect that kind of seizure were put in place, signed off on, and it appears there was also U.S. military support in this operation. The U.S. military was not in the lead, but this helps explain why Esper was fired and Miller and Kash Patel were put in place, so that the military would not interfere with the operation in any way. And that is true to a point, but remember, I said there's much more to this than meets the eye. We're going to explain further down the road why Mark Esper was put out of the way. You're going to understand, and it's going to blow your mind. So just sit through this, all right? By getting a hold of the server, they now are going to have the direct evidence of when they were instructed to stop counting. They will also discover who gave the direction to stop counting and who initiated the algorithm that started switching votes. The CIA was completely excluded from this operation. I wonder why, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we know why at this point. It's absolutely insane. I think we're going to have a lot of awesome movies after this is all said and done and we win our country back. People are going to be inspired to write some great films and flicks for the next 50 years out of this crazy year. Look, a short time later, Sidney Powell commented on the server, but she didn't know who it was or who captured the machine. See, we're establishing the timeline. All right. You remember when she came out during that press conference and said, we have the server, but I hope it was the good guy. So we don't know who got it. Right before that happened. All right. This is what happened. So by the 21st of November, the excellent reporters at Newsmax, Emerald Robinson, tweeted that she did hear that a piece of hardware had been secured in Germany. So now reporters are hearing about it. Newsmax has actual reporters, not people who make up reality that doesn't exist over at the mainstream media. Newsmax actually has reporters. So I trust that. Breaking, a national security source confirms that a piece of hardware has been secured from Germany. That, again, was Emerald Robinson from Newsmax. It continues. We've heard that another source that the U.S. does indeed, excuse me for all my errors, that the U.S. does indeed have the server that was captured in Germany. And on Tuesday in Arizona, we next heard that the U.S. has the traffic and the packets sent overseas during the 2020 election. We're going to talk about this next. This breaking exclusive, we've got it from Colonel Waldron right here. We're going to actually talk about that after I go through this a little more. Colonel Waldron also shared in Arizona that there were hundreds looking into the Dominion system. If you really think nothing's happening behind the scenes, you're out of your mind. I know there's a bunch of folks that I've seen so far going, when is it going to happen? When is it? I get it. I get your frustration, but you need to relax. Everything is about timing. In this, everything's about timing in life. If you're trying to get a promotion at work, you have to time everything perfectly to gain the skill sets you need to match up that moment when that opening occurs, or they're going to pass you over just by chance. It's anything in life. It takes consistency. It takes discipline. It takes timing. All right. It takes patience. This isn't just like, keep on leading the horse to water. That's not what's happening, because the actual proof, the signs are here. Any good investigator sees these signs, all right? And I'm a damn good investigator, so I'm going to take you through them a little bit more. Related to the capture of the server in Germany, there have been lots of rumors about the whereabouts of CIA Director Haspel. Think about that. Have you heard from him? Not at all. Not at all. And a gunfight that possibly broke out during the raid. We currently have no information about either of these topics that we can confirm, and we also don't know the location of the server that was obtained in Germany. But what they do know in summary is that there was a server in Germany, that it was obtained by the U.S. They know that a team of military cyber specialists have traffic and packets sent to Germany during the 2020 election. And this is good news for Americans who want to know the truth. Now, a lot of other creators out there, a lot of other leaders out there, a lot of other gold badges. I'm not a gold badge, but a lot of gold badges, a lot of blue check marks out there. A lot of the leaders on the conservative side, there's a lot of good ones. And there's also a lot of folks that are going to just end here. This is where we end. They're just going to make the short clip and just call it good. But like I said, I'm going to give you the real detail. I'm going to give you my true analysis of where this heads. And I'm not a spring chicken. I'm not a dumb duck. I know how this works. This isn't a guess. This isn't me coming up with something out of my butt. This is me actually putting the clues together, sitting down, doing a research analysis, using the skills I've been learning as a PhD student to drill in deep, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So what I want to get to next is, do you remember right here? I just talked about this Colonel Waldron. We're going to go to that article. It's very important. All right. It's very important we go through that a little, because it's going to start building the picture of what we're talking about. And again, like I said, at the end, we're going to summarize everything. I have to keep saying this because I know there's some people that like to watch this and bitch and moan and get all pissy that there's just too much information, but there's never too much information. I'm here, part of the American Reveille's job here, and part of what I've stated that I want to do here is get you real information, real thought through information. I don't want to be a journalist. I do like to put a little style to what we do. I do want us to be the rock stars on the conservative side when this is all said and done. I want to build a huge community and a huge company that can provide livelihoods and help people and do amazing things, which I have a plan for. But honestly, guys, we need to know. We got to know. We can't just go through life like the left does, ill-informed. Sometimes it takes a little bit of effort. Sometimes it's hard. But in the end, you're going to thank me. You're going to have a tool, a weapon at your disposal, something that you can use to defend the First Amendment, because you're going to have proof. You're going to have some peace out of what I say, and you're going to have proof. You're going to have the real deal. You're going to have the information you need to defend yourself when the left freaks out and attacks, and when they say all this stupid stuff and they try to come, at you and they try to tear you down. You're going to have the security of knowing in detail. All right. There are people that could do this much more detailed than I. All right. I get that. And there are people that do it already that might be a little dry. And I think you know who we're talking about. I love them to death, but you know who we're talking about. There's somebody that talks really fast and kind of gets a little dry with stuff. And I've noticed in his business plan, he's tried to be a little more funny and put a little personality behind it, because I think he's a smart cat. He knows he's looking at the metrics. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do the same long crap here and there, but you're going to enjoy it. You're going to like the tone of my voice. You're going to enjoy the tempo. You're going to be happy about the little milestones we get to, and you're going to feel excited with the things that I reveal to you, because I'm going to do it in a way where you understand, where you can digest it. All right. I might have some education, but I come from nothing. So I can relate everything in layman's terms. I can translate everything and make it understandable. And that's what I want to do with these long ones. I want to put together the strategy for you. And I'm going to make you understand, because I'm going to translate this, gibberish into what we understand, what we can hear. Because when they spew this crap out in details and they're going, the algorithm of the Pytherion of pi of this and you're going, what are you even talking about? People tune out. And I don't want you to tune out. I want you to really grasp what we're doing. And if there's anything, by the way, that you don't grasp, if there's anything I didn't explain well, if there's any feedback you want to give to me, if you want to tell me to go screw myself because my episodes are too long after I ranted about not caring about my episodes being too long because it's important, send me an email, jameslane@AmericanReveille.com, or you can go to www.AmericanReveille.com and go to the contact form and fill it out, press the submit button, and you'll get a response from me right away. So this is important. This is going to start connecting some dots, and we're going to connect them even more as we go through. Let's start reading, folks. You've heard me jibber jabber long enough. Breaking exclusive. This is, again, the Gateway Pundit. This is from December 1st, ladies and gentlemen. We're going a little bit back in time to explain the future. Breaking exclusive. We've got it. Colonel Waldron confirms U.S. has a copy of the election night data, traffic and packets sent overseas to Frankfurt. If you aren't tech savvy, understand that traffic and packets, there's an exchange, all right? Like if you think of an IP address, which basically you've seen these series of numbers. It's like 199.22 whatever .00. Everybody's seen that by now. It's not 1986, all right? That is basically an address to your computer. I know for the tech people out there, I know that I could get way more detailed than that. Don't jump down my throat. I'm trying to just vaguely explain it. And that address has to send data to another address. And it's almost like a handshake, like an exchange. That's called packet transfer. You have packets of data going one way and returning another way. It happens super fast, and you receive a constant signal. But you can track those. They leave a footprint. Any forensic IT specialist can go in and track that, can find out where it's coming from, where it's going. And it was going to Frankfurt, ladies and gentlemen. And we have sworn affidavits from a colonel. The left really is stupid. They really are stupid. Look, the U.S. has a copy of the traffic and the packets of information that were sent to Germany on election night. Yesterday, the first expert at the Arizona State Legislature hearing with Rudy Giuliani was U.S. cybersecurity expert Colonel Phil Waldron. He's a cybersecurity expert, folks. Colonel Phil Waldron spoke first at the Arizona hearing about the voting machines used in U.S. elections. These are the same machines used in Venezuela by Chavez. We've heard that a bunch now. The Dominion systems were connected to the internet as well, despite Dominion's claim to the contrary, which is good because we can track. Because if they were connected to the internet, they had an IP address. It was connected to another IP address, and packets of data were moving around. And you can see, they leave that footprint. You can see where it goes, where it comes from. On Dominion, pointed to as being secure because it doesn't connect to the internet. Witness Colonel Phil Waldron said these machines have many access points to the internet. These machines are connected to the internet. Dominion user manual instructs how. Server traffic showed these connections, folks. When they say, where's the proof? Well, there's some proof. Besides, the suitcases we saw yesterday. Of course, Dominion voting machines' output could be manipulated. That's from Joe Hoft. We also know, I'm reading some tweets, by the way, guys, that are on here for those listening. All right, bear with me. We also know there are many teams looking into the Dominion voting machine control weakness. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, General Flynn highlighted one point during Colonel Waldron's testimony. Colonel Waldron claimed that not only did the military's white hat hackers see the data flowing overseas to Germany on election night, they also have a copy of the traffic and packets of the data that was sent. Unapologetic and unafraid. I watched today's hearings. All right. Powerful. This is from General Flynn. Powerful. Arizona needs to stop and take major corrective action, as do many other states. Thank you, Natty Lee, for bringing this to our attention. Hashtag digital soldiers. That's what we're all doing here. Being digital soldiers. Yesterday's testimonies in Arizona were devastating. The steel is on, and by all indications, they got caught. Update. Here's some testimony from an over 21-year-old intelligence analyst at the 305th Military Intelligence Unit. That's what I wanted to get to on this article. All right? I get it. You understand packets by now. We're not going to get into any other packets unless they're Taco Bell packets. Folks, 305th Military Intelligence Unit. What is that? What have you heard about that lately? Have you heard anything about the Krakens? All right. That's the 305th Military Intelligence Unit, the Krakens. Another chess piece moving on the board, another part of the chain reaction, the chemical reaction, the process that has to take place in perfect synchronicity to unleash the power of the splitting of the atom, to make this nuclear bomb go off and drain the swamp. It has to be done perfectly. It has to be timed perfectly. But there are clues here, ladies and gentlemen. There are clues. Look, this is the real court document. I'm going to zoom in this a little bit here. All right, so you can see it better. This is from the case, all right? This is filed on 11/25. This is a declaration pursuant to 28 U.S.C. Section 1746. Some legal jargon, don't worry about it. They're declaring, I am over the age of 21 and I am under no legal disability, which would prevent me from making this declaration. Sorry about that, folks. My phone went off. I should have put it on airplane mode. I was an electronic intelligence analyst under the 305th Military Intelligence Unit with experience gathering SAM missile system electronic intelligence. Now, remember, they had this quote in an article the other week. If you're reading a bunch of articles like I do, you've seen that quote right there. You've seen it right there. But nobody's gone further with it. I'm showing you the whole enchilada. All right. This is 17 pages. I'm not going to kill you for 45 minutes on this because not everything is pertinent. You kind of get the point after a little bit. So we're just going to go through a little bit of it. I was an electronic intelligence analyst under the Krakens, the 305th Military Intelligence Unit with experience gathering SAM missile system electronic intelligence. I have extensive experience as a white hat hacker. All right. And a white hat hacker is a hacker that works for the good guys, ladies and gentlemen. They trace the bad guys, the bad hackers. They fight the bad hackers. They're on a white hat hacker is basically an army of good guy hackers. All right. Anyway, where was I? I have extensive experience as a white hat hacker used by some of the top election specialists in the world. All right. The methodologies I have employed represent industry standard cyber operation toolkits for digital forensics and OSINT, which are commonly used to certify connections between servers, network nodes, and other digital properties and probe to network system vulnerabilities. And I should have been prepared for this. I forgot that acronym. Let's look it up real quick. OSINT Best Practices Open Source Intelligence is a multi-method methodology for collecting, analyzing, and making decisions about data accessible in publicly available sources to be used in an intelligence context. In the intelligence community, the term open refers to overt, publicly available sources. All right? So, He basically, he's trained in and an expert in and has used everything that the industry standards basically for military intelligence, for collecting the data, not military. Well, it could be either way, for collecting the data from digital intelligence, from things like this, from, say, packets, from connections, from all of the places they aren't supposed to be coming from. This is going to come together. I'm a U.S. citizen and I reside in blank, it's redacted, location in the United States of America. Whereas the Dominion and Edison research systems exist in the Internet of Things, and whereas this makes the network connections between the Dominion, Edison research, and related network nodes available for scanning. And whereas Edison Research's primary job is to report the tabulation of the count of the ballot information as received from the tabulation software to provide to Decision HQ for election results. So Dominion gets the results. They hand the results to Edison. Edison's supposed to count them, and Edison's supposed to get them to Decision HQ. Whereas Spiderfoot and Robotex are industry digital forensic tools, okay? These are the names of tools, Spiderfoot and Robtex, not Robotex, sorry. They're the names of actual forensic tools, special tools that you would use to evaluate network security and infrastructure. These tools were used to conduct public security scans of the Dominion and Edison research systems. And a public network scan of DominionVoting.com on 2020 on the 8th of November. It revealed the following interrelationships. It revealed 13 unencrypted passwords for Dominion employees and 75 hashed passwords available for TOR nodes. All right. This is what that looks like. And so he's going in, and all this is them tracing. Remember when I said addresses and connections, IP addresses, the numbers .00 whatever, .0 this, whatever. You've seen those before. Each one of these nodes can represent a computer, right? Or a network. It's just a point in the connection. It's a node. And each of these nodes has an IP address, and each of those communicates with another IP address, and packets are exchanged. This is a visual representation of that packet exchange. Guys, I've been working in electronics for a long time. Just trust me. One day when I don't do my normal job for a living and I just do this for a living, I'll tell you all about what I do. All right. The same public scan also showed a direct connection to the group in Belgrade as highlighted below. All right, so these are those numbers I was telling you about, 108.162.192.173. You see that? Those are addresses. These are MAC addresses. They're router addresses. These are hardware addresses, 108.162. That's belgrade.dominionvoting.com. It's starting to stretch out. So a cursory search on LinkedIn of Dominion Voting confirms that there are numerous employees in Serbia. All right, look at that. Vukasin Dordevic, he's the software developer at Dominion from Serbia. Senior full stack web developer Edvin Sabanovic, he's from Serbia. Where are these connections coming from? They're coming from Belgrade. Look at this, these nodes. Some of these nodes are in Belgrade, all right? And they're giving this information. He's scanning their connections. I'm trying to get if some of you understand this very well, I'm sorry for going through this, but I know there's a lot of folks that have no idea about technology out there, and I really need to get you to understand the proof and why this is going to stand in court, and this is going to lead into the big picture at the end, where I know what's going to happen after the re-election. So let's keep going. An additional search of Edison research, and by the way, I hope Trump sees this at some point, and I hope he looks at it, and I hope he just like smirks. He's like, because he knows that I figured it out. An additional search of Edison research on the 8th of November 2020 showed that Edison research has an Iranian server. Remember, there's a node, all right? There's Edison research. There's this node. You can't really see it well because it's so blurry, but you see that Iranian writing right there, that Farsi or whatever it is. I apologize if I'm saying the wrong language name, but screw it, forgive me, whatever. Look at that. That's in Iran. Inputting the Iranian IP, let me lower this a little bit, zoom out a little. Inputting the Iranian IP address, which are those series of numbers I showed you about. Whoop. Try to zoom it a little bit. Well, we'll just go back up so I can show you them again. These types of numbers, those are IP addresses, not these up here with the double colons. These dotted ones down here, those are IP addresses. They are identifying right here an Iranian IP address, all right? And when you input that into the forensic tool that you use as a cybersecurity specialist to check connections and check infrastructure and analyze these things, RobTex, it confirms the direct connection into Edison research from the perspective of the Iranian domain as well. That means that they're both dialed in and talking. It's not an accident. It's not one person connected and the other person not knowing. They had to call and the other people had to pick up. You see where I'm coming from? They're shaking hands. They're shaking hands. This means that it's not possible that the connection was a unidirectional reference. It's not going one way. It's a two-way relationship. A deeper search of the ownership of Edison Research, edisonresearch.com, shows a connection to BMA Capital Management, where shareofear.com, whatever that is, and BMAcapital.com are both connected to Edison Research via a virtual private server, as denoted by the VPS. Sorry, I have a phone going off here. As denoted by the virtual, the VPS at the start of the internet name. And a virtual private server can be like an encrypted server where things are stored, things are processed. You can use a VPN on their private network. That's basically what mimics these servers. And guys, it's a private server. You're hiding something at this point, folks. You're hiding something. You don't have to be hiding something, but for the purpose of this, trust me, and I'm putting two and two together as a tech professional. When you're putting two and two together, there's hidden things here. There's something wrong. It doesn't have to be private. It doesn't, unless it wasn't supposed to be there. All right. When they do the search, look at that. Right here in New Chali, the Bolton Market, the State Bank of Pakistan. Look at this technology, man. God, we've come a long way, haven't we? Dominion Voting is also DominionVotingSystems.com, of which there are also many more examples, including access of the network from China. The records of China accessing the server are reliable. This is more, going in through the forensic tools. I'm not going to spend all day on that. China Unicom, the backbone, the fraud risk. We consider China Unicom to be a potentially low fraud risk ISP, so they search through that. Look, domain name, Dominion Voting Systems. There's all the registry IDs, the Whois server, which is the parent server, GoDaddy hosts. It's a URL right there. We keep going down. The registered organization, all right, the province, the Hunan province of China is registered domain votingsystems.com through GoDaddy from Hunan province in China, ladies and gentlemen, communist China. You're lucky I know how to read this stuff, folks. I know how to do a lot of things. I hope you have faith in me. We're not going to zoom in and go through all this. It'll be 6 hours. BMA Capital Management is known as a company that provides Iran access to capital markets with direct links publicly discoverable on LinkedIn. All right? They found all this. Now, folks, if you are listening, you can head over to YouTube. I don't know if I'm going to get this on Rumble. The reason I don't have the first Kraken on Rumble and some of the others is because for some reason, when it's a very large file, Rumble does not let me upload it. I hope they improve. I hope they do that. I want to get off YouTube. But for now, just go to YouTube. Try to find me on Rumble or BitChute, but go to YouTube and watch this video. I'm going through all of this documentation. I'm showing you on the screen exactly what's happening. Listening's good too, though, and I really appreciate your support in having you folks. Check this out. Iran Joint Investment Company, Pakistan. The same RobTech search confirms the Iranian address is tied to the server in the Netherlands, which correlates to known OSINT of Iranian use, because they have to report these as part of the rules of the Netherlands as a remote server. A search of the invisible.org network showed a subdomain, which is a domain, which like a host, a domain. It's a network. If you're attached to a network at work, it's part of a domain. Trust me, there's just some stuff that's harder to explain than others. It showed a subdomain, which is a domain under that domain, obviously subdomain, which evidences the existence of scorecard software in use as part of the indivisible.org, formerly Acorn, political group for Obama. Look at that right there. Scorecard.indivisible.org. And if you want to know more about Scorecard, go and look it up. It's CIA programs. It's used to influence elections. It's terrible stuff. CIA has really been involved in some horrific things since its inception, guys, that have been proven. We could do 100 episodes on all kinds of, from the Gulf of Tonkin to Majestic 6, I mean, or whatever it is, the mind control programs, the things they've done to children. We're not fans of the CIA here at the American Reveille Podcast. I'll just put it like that. Each of the tabulation software companies have their own central reporting affiliate. Edison Research is the affiliate for Dominion. Beanfield.com out of Canada shows the connections via co-hosting related sites, including dvscorp.com. Remember, Jared Justin, whatever, Trudeau. I don't like him at all, so I always forget his first name. Dummy Trudeau there. He made a whole speech about the Great Reset, so I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. Well, I won't say that. I could probably throw him pretty far, so I won't trust him as far as probably the chance I'll ever meet him, which is probably never, so... Anyway, the Dominion partner Domain DVS Corp also includes an auto-discovery feature where new in-network devices automatically connect to the system. The following diagram shows some of the related DVSCOPR.com mappings, all right, which mimic the infrastructure for Dominion and are an obvious typo derivation of the name. Typo derivations are commonly purchased to catch redirect traffic and sometimes are used as honeypots. Redirect traffic meaning if you make a typo, the search engine catches it and it goes, oh, and it throws you to the correct website. I forgot what honeypots meant. Let me look that up real quick for you. Honeypots. Notice I don't support Google on there. DuckDuckGo, ladies and gentlemen. Honeypot. In computer technology, a honeypot is a computer security mechanism set to detect, deflect, or in some manner counteract attempts at unauthorized use of information systems. All right, so they were using it to attract the wrong people or throw people off or however they were using it for. All right, and we have data there, we have data here. This whole thing goes on and on and on and on. It's just proof and proof and proof. It's all here. I've explained a ton of it to you. If I go through all the rest of this, it's gonna bore the hell out of you. All right, Smartmatic creates the backbone. Citle's responsible for the security within the election system. See, it's showing what the layout is, ballot level security features for optical scan voting machines capable of ballot image processing, yada, 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 yada. It's very easy to dig this stuff up. And if you want to take a look at this yourself in greater detail, just head over to the Gateway Pundit. This was an older article that they did, not older, just from the other day here. Let me zoom this out a little. Bear with me, people listening in Apple Podcasts, Spotify land, Audible land, wherever you're listening from. Give me a second. From December 1st, this article, again, was breaking exclusive. We've got it. Colonel Waldron confirms U.S. has a copy of the election night data, the traffic and packets sent overseas to Frankfurt. And that's what I've been reading to you and going through with you. I've got a mustache hair sticking up and tickling my nose. Oh, my God. You're going to have to, I'm not even cutting that out of there. You'll probably just laugh at me. So that's what we've been going through. So if you want to see that, look that up and come here. There's a whole thing here and you can download it. You just right click it, save as. You see that? Oh, no, it's not letting me save as. See that little thing right here? There's a little download thing. Little download button. You could probably click that and download it, or you can just read it on here. There's no reason to download it. Anyway, I think that's enough of that part. We need to move on from this. You've seen the internet traffic. You've seen the digital footprint, the digital proof. We're in 2020, ladies and gentlemen. Digital proof is the same as real proof. It is real proof. It's the same as physical evidence, all right? It's the same as finding a murder weapon. It's literally leading us to the perpetrator, and this leads us to all of these very, very, not just interesting, but implicating places, all right? That should give you a lot of confidence in the story I'm about to tell you. I had to give you all of that information. I know it dragged on. I know it was a little dry. I hope I was able to present it a little better than most, but I had to give you all of that information to set the credibility of the story, not just based upon the people we're going to mention and the folks that are in this web revealing this information, because they are credible, but this should give actual digital evidence to support what they're saying. All right. So bear with me. We got a little bit more to go through before we pull this all together. All right. So we're going to talk about some of the chess pieces that have been moved around. We talked a little bit about that in the beginning, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that right now. We're going to move on to the New York Post. All right. The Trump administration ousts almost all of the Pentagon. I don't know. This is an ad, by the way. Sorry, I don't know why there's some very oily, shirtless man on the screen there. Please don't pay attention to the oily, shirtless man. And it's not me. I'm bald, and I'm prettier than him. Trump administration ousts almost all of Pentagon's Defense Policy Board, all right? It's like 11 people. So we talked in the beginning about the replacement of Mark Esper with the acting, what is he? He's the counterterrorism czar, basically. And he then directed special forces to answer directly to him and gave them a very new mission. And then all the secretaries of the military, the Navy, the Secretary of the Army, the Secretary of the Air Force, for those wondering why I'm not mentioning the Marines and who aren't up to date with the knowledge. Well, not up to date, but just don't know what it actually is. The Department of the Marines doesn't exist. The Marines have a commandant, and they fall under the Department of the Navy. I am a sailor, so any Marine out there that hears me saying this knows exactly why I just said that. And for those who aren't Marines or don't know any Marines, go find a Marine and ask them why I brought that up. Because they'll tell you possibly, not a funny story, but they'll tell you an emotion that it brings up in them. I'll tell you that. So, folks, talking about chess pieces, something is coming that you would need to ensure the right people were in the right places for legal reasons and for swiftness reasons. You need to make sure that you have people trusted in place that are going to carry out the orders if you're going to do something big. You know, we're going to talk about military generals for 2 seconds, and then we're going to read this. Some of you are going to appreciate this. Some of you might go, man, you're talking too much. Well, deal with it. Absorb the knowledge. It's good for you. It's good for you. Ladies and gentlemen, there are different type of military leaders out there. There are regular generals, right? There are really good generals. There are great tacticians. And then there are grand visionaries, grand strategists, people who see the bigger pictures, people who reach the highest level of command, regardless of their personality, though they normally have very big personalities, Trump-like personalities. We're talking about people like Ulysses S. Grant, Unconditional Surrender Grant, the hero of Vicksburg, the strategic genius of Vicksburg and of the war. We're talking about the Civil War, by the way, but we're talking about these leaders. Let's talk about, look, Napoleon. Napoleon, for as ridiculous as a person as he was and is highly regarded as one of the most genius military strategists and tacticians in the history of history. I mean, I don't have a better way to say it. I didn't script this episode, so you're just going to have to deal with me taking this off the hip. All right. I mean, you have Africanus. I mean, you have all of these people from history, and it's a very small group. I said all these people, but you have this select group of people that were that were able to pull off maneuvers, military maneuvers, giant pincher movements, giant turning movements. You know, they say in military strategy that only the greatest of generals could do a massive turning movement and turn somebody else's military into a trap, or lure them into a pincher maneuver. And imagine two sides of an army closing in. If you've ever seen Game of Thrones, you've seen the circle surrounding Jon Snow that was strangling them tighter and tighter. There's all kinds of military maneuvers, tactics, strategies, things that timing you have to set up. You don't just announce your trap and then trap people. It doesn't work like that. It plays out in these long, drawn-out soap operas almost, in these dramas, and what we're watching right now, folks. And those can only be pulled off by people. And those people that I've studied, by those larger-than-life people, the U.S. Grants, the General MacArthur's, the General Pattons, the I'm throwing this off my head. All of these leaders, and it's not all leaders. You can't look at, say, if we want to look at presidents, for example, you can't look at, say, President Nixon, right? Nixon had a lot of great ambitions, but you can't compare him to Reagan, or you can't. I mean, these people, they're different people. All right. Some people can be decent. And, obviously Nixon screwed up hugely, but people can be decent at these things. People can be good. People can be known as smart and sharp and great, but those people, it doesn't mean that they can really zoom out and zoom in and see the big picture, the small picture, every working, intricate part of the motor, everything moving around, the whole picture, a grand visionary. Folks, I think we're dealing with a grand visionary when we talk about President Donald Trump. Everything he says has come true. And he said, don't you dare bet against me. And I'm not betting against him. And that's why I'm giving you all of this information, so I can show you what I see, so that you can see the bigger picture like I do, because I think almost in visuals. That's how my brain works. I can take a motor and put it in front of my face, float it in the air and take it apart into a million pieces and put it back together visually, just using my mind's eye, my imagination. Not a lot of people can do that. Look, I'm terrible at math. All right, guys. I use professional level software to do my analysis and stuff. So what can you say? Everybody has their strengths and weak points. So don't think I'm up here trying to brag or anything like that. We all have our special talents, folks. But we have to understand the intricate details before we can put the whole thing together. If you're not experienced with looking at things from the zoomed out perspective and really through understanding human nature and understanding the past moves on the chessboard, you can't just, it's very difficult for people, guys, to put that together. So I want to offer you that, but it's going to come in this gigantic dose of information. And I'm not going to do it. Like I said, I have plenty of videos out there. You've seen plenty of podcasts. They're 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 45 minutes. There's something for everyone. But if you want me to explain it to you and you want to understand, you're going to have to sit through the long form. And on this one right now, where we're at, we're talking about the Trump administration ousting almost all of the Pentagon's Defense Policy Board. And I know we went on a big 15-minute tangent there, but folks, this is, again, my podcast. You want something with a little less tangenty. You want a little less rabbit holes. You want a little more overview and a little less hard detail. Watch one of my shorter videos. There's something for everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and I aim to please, but that doesn't mean I'm going to change who I am and what my vision for the American Reveille movement is. And I'm very, very proud to have you guys as part of this movement and part of this vision. This is by Leah Istachowicz. All right? Ustachovich or Stachevich. I'm not going to give it another shot. So, let's start reading the Trump administration's ousting, all right? And this is from the New York Post, so bear with it. It can be a little... 11 members of the Pentagon Defense Policy Board have been abruptly booted by the outgoing Trump administration, according to a new report. All right? This is from November 27th, all right? Last week. 11 members of the Pentagon's Defense Policy Board, like I just said, all right? 11. That is a big number. That just got fired one day. Pentagon liaison Joshua Whitehouse. That's very coincidental. His last name's Whitehouse, and he probably works at the White House a lot. Anyway, Pentagon liaison Joshua Whitehouse, who sometimes works at the White House, but he's the liaison for the Pentagon, which you can be driven to from the White House, sent the directive Wednesday afternoon, multiple sources told Foreign Policy. Former Secretaries of State Henry Kissinger and Madeleine Albright, retired Admiral Gary Roughead, one-time ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee Jane Harman, Rudy De Leon, a former chief operating officer at the Pentagon, were all fired. They were all removed. I wonder why. Do you really think that Trump got pissed off? That's the beauty of Trump's strategies. He makes it look like he's just getting pissed off and lashing out. That's his cover. That's his prop. That outward personality is his prop. All right? You've heard reports of how he is in private with certain people. Okay? You have to understand strategy to really understand what's going on. Also ousted were former House Majority Leader Eric Cantor and former Treasury Department Undersecretary David McCormick, former Deputy Attorney General Jamie Gorelick, Chief U.S. Nuclear Negotiator Robert Joseph, former Deputy National Security Advisor J.D. Crouch II, and former top defense official Franklin Miller. The status of the other two members on the board is unclear. The Defense Policy Board provides top-ranking Pentagon officials with independent, informed advice and opinion on matter of defense policy. These people can't be trusted. These people can't know what's about to happen. That is the answer to that. The Defense Department confirmed the move in a statement of foreign policy. Do you really think, by the way, if Trump is really going to save this country and save the Constitution, do you really think it's going to go through the normal route and process? Do you really think we're going to go to Congress and ask them for help when they screw us at every corner? When they want to screw the American people? The Constitution has things in it that allow the president to do certain things when bodies of the government have become independent, have gone rogue, have become enemies of the citizenry of this country, ladies and gentlemen. And you're going to find that out. You're going to find that out. All right. So the Defense Department confirmed this move. Quote, as part of long considered changes, we had, those eyebrows weren't because I'm surprised. Those eyebrows were because, of course, they were part of long-considered changes. You have to fire them at the last minute. You can't have them guessing. You can't give them enough rope to hang you with. You only give them enough to hang themselves with. You don't want to load their guns with your bullets, ladies and gentlemen. Would you give the enemy a bullet? Would you, if someone was robbing your house and they were trying to shoot you, but they missed, and they ran out of freaking rounds in the clip, would you be like, oh crap, I feel bad that you're out of here. Let me give you some extra ammunition so you can keep shooting me. No, that's so stupid. And the mainstream media twists this stuff and tries to make you feel stupid. You're not stupid. If you've had this feeling, like me, you're not stupid. The Trump administration had sought to appoint members loyal to the president to the board, but got pushback from former Defense Secretary Mark Esper and acting Undersecretary James Anderson. And then Esper was fired earlier this month, and Anderson resigned rapidly. I wonder why. I wonder why, ladies and gentlemen. This is very important. And we're going to zoom in a little bit. So we started with the big picture. We zoomed all the way out and we took a quick, brief look, right, over what was happening here. We took a brief overview over the servers obtained in Germany and what they know. And I'm going to be connecting the dots and finishing this story. We then zoomed in a little bit more and we talked about the data. We gave credibility. We gave background information, we gave backbone, we gave foundation to the evidence, to the case that we're putting forward. We gave we showed you the trail. We showed you the trail of evidence that connects the different players together, connects Dominion, it connects Seidel, connects Germany, connects Iran, it connects China, all of this, the CIA. We talked about that in the data. Then we zoomed out a little bit more, because this is a process. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. All right. Zoomed in a little bit more. And we looked at Trump and his administration getting rid of the Pentagon's Defense Policy Board and why. And now we're going to focus and we're going to use this skill that we're learning. We're going to zoom in a little bit more and we're going to talk about Mark Esper. And we're going to talk about for a second why they would get rid of him. All right. And we're going to talk about the use of troops on U.S. streets, because this is where this is leading to. All right. I'm going to give you a hint. We're going to start talking about the Insurrection Act a little bit, folks. Not yet. Coming up in a couple minutes. But there's a reason Trump never used it on Portland. There's a reason Trump never used it on Chicago. There's a reason on this entire country. The Insurrection Act allows Trump to put troops on U.S. streets to stop an insurrection. That's why it's the Insurrection Act. Trump fires Mark Esper, defense secretary, who opposed the use of troops on U.S. streets. Some of you at this point are going, oh. Some of you are having your brain explode, and then others are still scratching your head. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to put the whole thing together when we're done. So let's read this a little bit. All right, guys, this is the New York Times, ladies and gentlemen. This is by Helene Cooper, Eric Schmidt, and Maggie Haberman, ladies and gentlemen. And some of this it's not pro-Trump, I'll tell you that, but we need to get this from multiple sources to put the picture together and show you what's actually happening. And I wanted to get from these previously credible sources, I wanted to get the news out of it. I wanted to show you that we're not just pulling stuff off Gateway Pundit. Trump fires Mark Esper, defense secretary, who opposed the use of troops on U.S. streets. Mr. Esper's removal was quickly followed by speculation that the president was not finished. The FBI director and the CIA director could be next, according to administration officials. You notice they haven't gotten rid of the CIA director, right? You notice you haven't heard from him, right? We talked about that for a little bit earlier. Are you starting to put the pieces together yet? He's directly responsible for the CIA. We heard about a firefight in Germany, which I'm confirming, which I believe happened with all of this stuff we're talking about, with all of the evidence. Who's in charge of the CIA? Sounds like treason to me, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds like treason. Let's do a little reading. President Trump fired Defense Secretary Mark Esper. So we're going back a little more. Remember, this is November 11th, all right? Or actually, sorry, this was published on the 9th, November 9th, and it was updated on the 11th. President Trump fired Defense Secretary Mark T. Esper on Monday, appending the military's leadership at a time when Mr. Trump's refusal to concede the election has created a rocky and potential precarious transition. And just bear with it. I know there is no transition. There is no, you want this disinformation out there. Trump is controlling the media's narrative by doing all of these things that seem erratic, that aren't actually erratic. That's why they're talking crap about him. Be happy they're talking crap. That means it's working. That means he's successfully diverted their attention in the wrong direction. All right? We're watching a giant pincer movement take place. We're watching, if you could imagine the deep state as an army, we're watching that army get lured into an area of terrain against water and then being closed in on from both sides without them even realizing it. We're watching a grand Napoleon-style turning movement into a pincher maneuver, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's the best way I could describe it. The best way that I could describe it to where you're going to really understand. All right. Mr. Trump announced the decision on Twitter, writing in an abrupt post that Mr. Esper had been terminated. And then the president wrote that he was appointing Christopher C. Miller, whom he described as the highly respected director of the National Counterterrorism Center, to be the acting defense secretary. Mr. Miller will be the fourth official to lead the Pentagon under Trump. He fires the people that aren't loyal to him. Remember that. Two White House officials said later on Monday that Mr. Trump was not finished and that Christopher A. Wray, the FBI director, and Gina Haspel, the CIA director, could be next in line to be fired, removing these senior officials, in effect decapitating the nation's national security bureaucracy, would be without parallel by an outgoing president who has just lost re-election. Now, don't get mad again. He didn't lose. This is important that you read through this, that you understand what's happening here. All right. So think about this. You're asking, where's Bill Barr? You're asking, what the hell are our security, our national security agencies doing? Why is nobody being arrested? Why is nobody being investigated heavily? We know there's some investigations. We know there's confusion among Bill Barr. Did he say what the AP said he said? Did he not say it? He kind of said it. I'm losing faith in the guy. I'm losing faith in the Durham report. All I'm hearing about the Durham stuff is that they're going after a lawyer. Folks, I think it's completely possible with the Durham stuff that might even be a diversion. And that might even be part of the plan, because I think the bigger crackening is coming. I really do, ladies and gentlemen. And when you look at this, when you think about, like I talked about earlier, when they said Amy Coney Barrett was going to get put in the SCOTUS seat. What happened? She got put in the SCOTUS seat. They said that it would be illegitimate and Trump would throw a coup to win the presidency. They said it a bunch the other month. Trump's going to turn it around and they're going to start screaming coup. As soon as the first state flips back to Trump, you're going to see it. Coup, dictator, coup. They call it. They always call it. I'm not saying there's 100% chance it'll happen, but they set it up. There's a 90% chance in my mind. All these things get set up for the most likely strategy. Humans have free will, ladies and gentlemen. Anything can change. But what strategic leaders, what generals do, what these people that plan these things do, they say, let's map out the probability of what's going to happen in the worst case scenario, and let's be prepared for the worst case scenario. And it looks like we're going down the route of worst case scenario, and Trump has a plan to solve the worst case scenario. That's what you get out of this. Look, the president wrote that he was appointing Chris Miller, who he described as highly respected. He's the fourth official, all right? He's been getting rid of people that aren't loyal to him, okay? He might even be getting rid of people multiple times on purpose so that the left loses faith in his ability to lead, even though he has a plan behind it. Remember, he's fulfilled every promise besides draining the swamp. So what makes you think that he's not going to fulfill that promise either? Remember, he said it. I said it before. I'll say it again. He said, don't ever bet against me. So patriots that are betting against Trump right now, folks that are listening that have lost hope, I need you to sit the hell up, and I need you to toughen up, and I need you shoulders back, chin up, gig line straight. I need you ready for this fight, ladies and gentlemen. I need you ready to use the First Amendment. I need you ready to defend our president and defend our values. I don't need you here whining and moaning about how nothing's happening and how things are falling apart. I need you to, even if you have to get it from me, even if you have to message me and ask me for a message that brings you some hope, message me. But I need you hard, resilient, and focused for the fight at hand. All right? That's where I need you. When you read this, all right, it predicts what's going to happen. It says, two White House officials later said that Haspel and where is it? Haspel and Wray might be coming next. It's right here. In effect, decapitating the nation's security bureaucracy. That's the line we're looking for. What do you think he's doing? He's setting up a trap. He's setting up a trap. If the CIA really did kill U.S. Army, if they're protecting this, if they're working for the deep state and in turn working for the Democrat Party, why wouldn't you get rid of all of the safe places around this man? The walls must be closing in on Chris Wray. All right. So let's talk about Christopher Miller for a second. And I want to add a little more credibility to what's happening before we put the whole big picture together and close this up. Because after I explain who Chris Miller is, I'm going to tell you a little story. And this little story may end up becoming our future. All right. So let's take a look right here on Wikipedia. We could just do it like that. No, I'm not going to pay you guys. Sorry. I'm trying to support my own company. Christopher C. Miller. This dapper gentleman right here, Christopher Charles Miller, born October 15th, 1965, is the acting U.S. Secretary of Defense and Director of the National Counterterrorism Bureau. By the way, folks, I want you to think while we're reading this. What is Antifa? Domestic terrorists. Black Lives Matter? Domestic terrorists. I said it, and I agree with it. Black Lives Matter are not here to help black people. They are a Marxist revolutionary movement committed to perpetrating acts of terror on U.S. streets to get people to submit to their views, beliefs, and values to eventually help bring down capitalism, bring forth the Great Reset, and turn our country into a socialist, then eventually communist, disgusting shell of what we once were, and we'd never, ever get back. Our country would fall eventually after that. We would just eventually be invaded by China and we'd be done. Listen to this. Prior to serving in civilian leadership at the DOD, ladies and gentlemen, he was a Green Beret, U.S. Special Forces, ladies and gentlemen, commanding the 5th Special Forces Group in Iraq and Afghanistan. Miller is the national director. The director of national counterterrorism, a role to which he was confirmed by the Senate by voice vote, August 6, 2020. He was named acting Secretary of Defense by President Donald Trump November 9th, following Trump's firing of Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. All right? This man, let's read his military service for a second. Miller served in the military from 1983. Man, oh man, Wikipedia asks you to donate a ton. Look, guys, I have a donation tab on my website. If you really, really like what we're doing and you appreciate it, you can go to www.americanreveille.com. You like that? That was a Ben Shapiro type segue. www.americanreveille.com, where you can donate if you'd like. It really helps, and it goes only towards upgrading our business operations and getting our equipment better and making this a better company for people and really giving us what we need so that we can keep supporting the right and keep building community on the right and uniting the right. And none of it goes in my pocket. It all gets reinvested into what we're doing. But with that being said, and I'm not going to say that anymore during this podcast, I'm going to shut that off and we're going to read about his military service. Miller served in the military from 1983 to 2014. I got out of the military in 2015. Just think about that. And I was born in 1985, ladies and gentlemen. So this man served in the military, was still in the military when I was in the military, and was in before I was born. He started as an enlisted soldier, the best kind to start, and then was commissioned a second lieutenant in 1987. He's a Mustang. If you are a Marine, an airman, a Coast Guard, in the Army, a soldier, a sailor, if you're a veteran, if you're retired, if you've been in for more than a minute, you know what a Mustang is, and you all respect a Mustang. If you're not in the military, you don't know what a Mustang is. If your parents were in, I'm sure you know, but ask somebody, ask somebody who's in the military what they think of Mustangs, and they'll tell you what they think of Mustangs. And we usually 99% of the time love our Mustangs. He then joined the United States Army Special Forces in 1993. He received a Master's of Arts in National Security Studies from the Naval War College. In 2001, he graduated from the College of Naval Command and Staff and the Army of War College. Folks, listen, when you get to certain groups, certain levels, certain things, you get training from different parts of the military. You can even go from one branch to another. So don't get confused by that. It's normal. It's absolutely normal. He participated in wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. In Afghanistan, he was a company commander in the 5th Special Forces Group. He fought Al-Qaeda. He fought the Taliban. In Iraq, he commanded Special Forces units. In 2006 and 2007, he was promoted to colonel in 2009. He served as the PEO, the Program XO, the Executive Officer for Rotary Wing Programs at U.S. Special Operations Command in 2010. One of his last assignments as an Army officer was Director for Special Operations and Irregular Warfare. Put 2 and 2 together some more. One of his last assignments as an Army officer was a Director for Special Ops and Irregular Warfare, the kind of warfare that doesn't happen very often. In the office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations, Low Intensity Conflict and Interdependent Capabilities in 2011. After retiring in 2014, this is the last part we're going to read, and then we're going to talk for a couple minutes and close this out. After retiring in 2014, Miller worked as a defense contractor from March 2018 to 2019. Miller served in the Trump administration as a counterterrorism advisor on the U.S. National Security Council, where he worked through and was involved in operations against ISIL, the Islamic State in, I think it was Libya. In 2020, he became Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations and Combating Terrorism. He was involved in designing or in designating Iran, Hezbollah, and American domestic terrorism as threats to the United States. That's a very important line. Remember, we need to get Antifa and Black Lives Matter designated as terrorist organizations before we can really prosecute them and destroy them. In 2020, he became the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations and Combating Terrorism. He was involved in designating Iran as a terrorist group, designating Hezbollah as a terrorist group, and American domestic terrorism as threats to the United States. Who's going to be best prepared to have a strategy to quell these people, to get rid of these people, to do what we have to do, to save our streets, to save our country, to get back to normal, ladies and gentlemen? Come on. I'm sure most of you are on the same page right now. You're just not going to, when I say the end of what's going to happen, what I think is going to happen, or what could most likely happen and what they're preparing for, in my opinion, that's really what's going to blow your mind. On November 9th, Miller was appointed as acting Secretary of Defense following the termination of Mark Esper. Miller's first overseas trip occurred in the 3rd week of November when he visited multiple military units in the Middle East and Africa, to include a 3-hour stopover in Mogadishu. I'm going to tell you something, and I'm not sure if it's true right now, but when I was in the military, you knew where a lot of these special forces guys were stationed. And Africa is a place where they do keep spec ops people. And it's not very far to take a little plane ride from Africa, if you're on the top there, on the top part of Africa, right? Across the Mediterranean there, land in Germany, and do a mission, folks. This stuff, the answers are all here, all right? You know about McEnany. You know his qualifications because I told you them the other day. These people wouldn't do what they do and say what they do. They wouldn't risk their whole reputation, their family, their kids' jobs. They wouldn't risk it if it wasn't true. So let's tie some stuff together, folks. We talked about the overview, right? We talked about Colonel Waldron confirming the data, which gave foundation, it gave evidence, it gave substance, it gave proof to the overview, all right? We talked about the Trump administration clearing these people at this strategic time, moving these pieces around on the chessboard, getting the chemicals just right to release at the right time to create a nuclear reaction. And that's what is going on there. Trump then fired Mark Esper. All right. Trump fired Mark Esper. He put Chris Miller in there. And then the raid happened in Germany, ladies and gentlemen. Then we got the servers. Ladies and gentlemen, we fought the CIA. People died, ladies and gentlemen. With all of these credible people and all of these clues, I'm calling a confirmation. I'm going to be the first one. I don't care if everybody else is scared to say it with security. I know strategy. I understand people. I've been a leader. I've been in leadership positions. I may not have ever been a high-ranking military guy or done anything special in the military, but I've been through all the military training to know and understand how operations do work and how people think. I understand grand strategy. If you've listened to me for a long time now, if you know anything about me, and then obviously you can see how my weird brain works. Okay, ladies, I'm sorry, but I don't mean to sound like that, but I do know who I am, and I am secure in myself. I am confident in what I believe. So I believe that firefight did happen. Now, here's the part that they're not telling you. This election, everything does ride on what courts say and what other things happen. But people don't plan events unless they've done the math and really thought out the strategies, really done the research, really forecasted what could happen and determined what will happen. Everybody's been calling it. Trump is going to win re-election. Now, I believe it's not going to go the way people think. I think, and it could go through the courts. Yes, it could go to the House and be counted by delegates. We could win that way. Sure. The Supreme Court could do something, but I think votes are going to get disqualified. I think it's going to start happening soon. It's the 4th. I think by the end of the week, we're going to start seeing a state or two flip. I think we're going to get that 305 plus landslide. I think that's the only way that this works without a gigantic major impact. A big conflict happening. I think that if it goes to House delegates, we're looking at horrible chaos in the streets. I think that if it goes to the Electoral College with the flipped states, we're still looking at chaos in the streets. But this is where I believe that the big picture comes together, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope that you're stocked up and prepared, and I hope that you have family around you, and I hope you're in a safe place. And you need to take care of yourself and all of that. But I think that things are going to start flipping. I think Trump's going to get that re-election. I think he's going to get the confirmation. And then I think between that confirmation and January, we're going to see some horrible civil unrest. And now it could happen after January. The timelines float a little when you're doing strategy. But I think they're preparing for that. They put the special forces in a special type of new mission. All right. They put the special forces dude at the head of the Department of Defense. They made all of the other units answer to this dude. We have all the data proving the Krakens, proving the server, proving everything. All the pieces add up. This isn't just moving strings around on the board and putting crazy 2 and 2 together. This is how actual research gets done and actual strategies determined and things are solved. If I was doing counter strategy on somebody, this is what I do. And this is what I'm getting from the breadcrumbs that I see. All right. Could I be wrong? Sure. There's always a chance you could be wrong. I'm not a psychic. I am not anybody special, but I'm a man who's walked in a lot of shoes, learned a lot of common sense, and read a lot of books. There's more to my story, and one day when I don't have a job, and I have this job, I'm going to tell you more about my story. But how do we quell this? How do we solve this problem? Because it's just going to get worse if Biden steals the election and gets in. He's just going to let this explode and let the country get destroyed. But if Trump gets in, no matter how he gets in, and he will be getting in, there is going to be an explosion of violence. Now, we'll have less violence if it goes through the electoral process with flipped states because votes were illegally cast. If they just throw it down to the House delegations and we win that way, I think we're going to have a lot more violence. Remember the rioting that happened for months? Trump never used the Insurrection Act. He couldn't have used the Insurrection Act. They would have called him a terrorist. They would have said that he was a dictator. They already did anyway, but that's just how the left plays their game. When this crazy unrest starts, if it starts, this is what they're preparing for. Because remember, all strategy is just a prediction of the other person's moves on a chessboard. So Trump has been a step ahead, but he's also using his mind to predict their strategy, their moves, their plans. Not just the left, but all these organizations that commit violence and support the left. So at the end of the day, sometime between the next 2 weeks and January, or right after January, we're going to see an explosion of violence and chaos. That's what Trump's saving the Insurrection Act for. That's how Trump is going to solve the problem. It's not going to happen all over the country. You're going to see this craziness erupt in the Democrat states. You're going to see some horrible stuff probably. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. I pray to God that I'm wrong. But everything tells me that that's what we're going to see. And that's when Trump, with all of the pieces in the right spot, is going to pull the Insurrection Act. Do you know what else happens during the Insurrection Act? When we find out who's committed treason, when we have the military here to seize the enemy criminals that are responsible to this. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're watching the plug start opening. I think we're about to see the beginning of the swamp get drained. That's what I think. That's where I'm at. I hope this gets to Donald Trump. Like I said, and I hope he sees it, and I hope he kind of smiles to himself. Well, maybe he'll give me a call and ask me to be an advisor one day, or he'll think I'm batshit crazy, and none of this will happen. But honestly, like I said multiple times during this, and I'm going to end it with these words. It's a bold statement that I'm making. Not a lot of people would make that statement because they're sponsored by large companies. The only other person who might make a statement like that has been banned on every single platform, and you know who that is. And I guess my statement is this. I'm self-sponsored. We're a grassroots movement. This is an American dream thing right here. This is an American movement. This is a we the people movement. And we the people, when we're trying to save our country, when we're trying to save our way of life for our children, there's nothing big enough. There's nothing you shouldn't risk. I can't hide. I have to put it all on the table and tell you what I believe and tell you the truth. And again, not based upon gibberish, but based upon research, ladies and gentlemen, based upon my skill set. So I hope you got some stuff out of this. I hope I helped. I know we went pretty long. We didn't go as long as let me look. We didn't go as long as the first revealing of the Kraken, but we still went about hour and a half, a little bit plus. I dug through pretty deep. If there's any part of this you really want me to dig in on, let me know. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and you really appreciate all this information I put out for you and I put it together and made you understand what I believe is going on, I would really appreciate it if you do me a favor, go to the app and just give me a 5-star rating. And if you have a minute, just type me a little review. 2 sentences, a paragraph, 1 sentence, please. By doing that, it lets the algorithm at Apple know that we're growing, that people are liking what we're doing, and they put us up on the rankings, and then more patriots get to see this. The word gets to spread. Our community becomes bigger. It becomes stronger. We become more organized. We become a unit. We become a movement, ladies and gentlemen. Because at the end of the day, if the Republican Party can't get this done, I'm really thinking about that MAGA party, ladies and gentlemen, and I know you are too. If you're on YouTube, do me a favor, subscribe, please, and hit the notification bell. We need you. We need you in this fight. YouTube's censoring me. I've been fighting for months and months and months to build this channel, and YouTube lowers the views all the time. So by doing it through word of mouth, you bypass their security, you bypass their censors, and you see what we are doing. So please do me that favor. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. This was the special 44th episode of the American Reveille Podcast. We're going to have a 45th episode, obviously, on Monday. Videos between now and then, possibly an article or 2 between now and then, possibly some big announcements between now and then. But the biggest thing that I want to say right now is thank you, and just hang in with me. Hang in with me, guys. I know it feels like forever, but like a long, like November Rain. How about that? Like Guns N' Roses, November Rain, the 11-minute song. You have to get through 9 minutes of slow music, slow, crappy 80s rock music to get to that freaking that really awesome part of the song. That's what's happening right now. You got to go through all the slow crap to get to the best part of the song, and you're not going to enjoy the best song of the best part of the song unless you got through all the crap. You're not going to eat the fruit unless it's ripe. It's going to be bitter. You want that sweet apple, ladies and gentlemen, and you're about to get the sweetest candy apple you've ever had when this crap goes down. So, folks, I've talked your ear off long enough. I really appreciate you at the James Lane on Parler. Thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, this is President U.S. Grant, Ulysses S. Grant, unconditional surrender grant. And I propose we get rid of the Grammys, we get rid of the Emmys, and we start the Granties. And the Granties would be given to extraordinary Americans who worked their butt off and came from dregs and came from hardship and failed and learned hard lessons and still overcame their utter animalistic humanity and rose to great heights to do great things for this country. But I digress, because I'm not here to talk to you about the Granties. I'm here to talk to you about coming to Parler from whatever social media you're on. And if you're already on Parler and you're seeing this, that's great too. But I want you to go to our Parler page here for the American Reveille. It's at The James Lane. The James Lane, L-A-N-E. The American Reveille. I am James Lane. I'm a veteran. I'm the owner and operator of the American Reveille. And all you got to do is come to Parler, sign up, and follow me. You'll see a little follow thing here. Here, look, we can go to Megan Kelly's. You see how it says follow right there? You want to follow me on Parler, if this thing will ever go backwards. There we go. And be one of the 7,500 people that love the American Reveille. We are patriotic. We are in your face. We are here for you, for the right. We the people, for the people. And we are fighting the good fight as digital soldiers against the left. The more people that join our cause, the more we can spread the message and we can beat down this evil leftist ideology. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, you're probably watching this on Rumble. And folks, Rumble is going to take down YouTube. It is the rising platform for uncensored voices, including many of your favorite conservative voices, including me, James Lane, here at the American Reveille. So when you're watching this and you're on Rumble, you're going to see right over here this little subscribe button. I need you to hit that button and subscribe to the American Reveille on Rumble. I need you to share this. I need to get the word out, because we are a community and we are right. We are righteous. We are on the right path to victory. The left does not stand a chance, and we will prevail.